Hey, good morning, Martin, or good afternoon for you. You're going to love this webinar. It's inspired by you. I'm going to give it just a minute before we get started. Thank you for joining us. Well, thank you, Martin. I'm glad that you guys are available to come, especially when you get here and you're joining these ones so often. I'm glad to see you and I'm glad to meet you face to face as well, as always. Also, before we get started, I mean, if you guys are looking at what events we're going to, we have top golf events that we're hosting with one of our partners, one of our vendor partners, and every month somewhere around the country. So hopefully we're going to be in your neighborhood, so you can come and visit with us and hear some more about some of our solutions that we have in collaboration with them. But we'll be sending out an email on that announcement. On the new sites there, or in the new locations that we're going. I think this coming April, we're going to be in Chicago, in the Schaumburg area. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Tech Talk. My name is Trywin. I am the channel sales manager and product manager here at Zyxel North America. We love doing these kind of discussion topics and informational webinars to help you as partners knowing some of the new technologies that are out there and some of the benefits that are available. We want it also to be interactive as well. So if you've joined this before, please feel free to use the Q&A section, and I'll try to get to them in line with the presentation. I do have a lot of slides to cover as usual, but we typically will be able to go through these fairly quickly and hopefully get you on with your day. But I have some exciting news to announce at the end, so hopefully you'll stick around to hear more about that. And today I want to talk about sandboxing, and maybe some of you may be interested in this kind of technology, or it's new to you. But we have partners like Martin who are animate proponents of sandboxing and using some of the best technologies to protecting your network as well as your customer networks as well. So that's why we wanted to bring this to the forefront and also do an announcement of what's coming up that will be beneficial to you and your customers. So first, to kick it off, we are Zyxel Networks, 33 plus years in the networking business, 100 million devices making connections worldwide, 700 plus employees in 150 different markets. 1 million businesses work smarter with Zyxel solutions, including almost 500,000 devices now in our Nebula Cloud platform worldwide. So that's a really big accomplishment. We are trusted to deliver connectivity in these types of solutions to a lot of different customers. We partner up with a lot of solutions providers, with hospitality, with retail customers, to providing a complete networking solution that is also secure, manageable within the cloud. We also partner with some of the best industry leaders for some of the technologies and collaborations there. Companies like McAfee, Norton, Webroot, Bitdefender. Those are all providers of a lot of different solutions that go into our products. So we trust them to providing some of the best-in-class solutions. We are a channel-focused entity and a company. We work with partners like yourself to do all these kinds of installs. So we have channel account managers that service you, both in the North America regions here and Canada. So you'll be working with either David, Andy, or Jacob for all of your needs, both pre and post sales, access to different things with distribution, inventory, pricing, whatever it may be. Please reach out to us and we will help you. We are also solutions driven by what our clients and what your customers need. We create the product, we write the software. So a lot of the solutions that we provide gives you an end-to-end solution, and you have valuable feedback to give to us to improve the product, to make fixes, to add functionality, feature functions that benefit you and your customers. So please feel free to reach out to us and give us those kinds of feedback. We are in a comprehensive portfolio delivering end-to-end networking solutions, security appliances, wireless solutions, Ethernet, network management tools, as well as hospitality gateways. So all of that delivered in one one entity, one vendor. So today I wanted to talk about security. Security has always been in the mindset of people. How do we protect networks in the businesses, and how do we do it kind of even with today's day and age with what we call 0-day kind of protection? There's a lot of viruses that pop up every day and all potential vulnerabilities, et cetera. And how do you as businesses manage that? Especially today's day and age, you're going to start to see requirements for higher levels of security in order for you as a as a partner to be insured, like a cybersecurity insurance, either you as an entity or a company, or for your end users to get cybersecurity insurance. So there's a lot of things that need to be involved with the security aspect of it. And we'll have some additional information and news coming in the future with some partnerships that we're building right now to help you as partners on delivering not only the hardware to do the security portion, but also how to manage that and also get visibility in a way that protects you and gets you up to speed in order to be insured. So our security packs come in a lot of different flavors. We offer content filtering, secure Wi-Fi services, connect and protect with collaborative defense responses with full UTM security, like in our USG Flexes, and then gold security, the gold pack supporting full sets of unified threat management with sandboxing, IP reputation, and DNS reputation filtering. So these are really designed as a holistic kind of best in class, all the things you would need on that top level. So now it's available not only in our ATP series, but now in our USG Flex series with the gold security pack. So we announced that a couple months ago or a few months ago with the new firmwares that were available at that time. And again, we partner with these leading security specialists, McAfee, Webroot, Lastline, Trend Micro, Bitdefender, in order to provide this kind of security. So we wanted to talk about sandboxing and why sandboxing is important. So we want to go beyond the conventional. Your typical UTM uses techniques, uses signature bases of known things, vulnerabilities, heuristics, reputation methods, et cetera. It has to be known in order for it to have any kind of blocking effect. So using advanced threat protection, like on an ATP or USG Flex now with the gold license, it goes beyond these methods. So it could protect against these 0-day threats that we talk about. So conventional UTM, you have maybe packets that are flowing through the network. Some things you can identify that's good and things that are known as bad. But there's a lot of things that are kind of in between. They might be good, they might be unknown, or they look suspicious. And you can't just block it because then you'll have no traffic passing through. So you have to kind of be smart about how you're scanning it and what you're allowing through. So some of these kind of in between packets, they cannot be identified by traditional UTM. So you can't get your signatures, et cetera, for it. So you have to use something like sandboxing and AI in the cloud to manage these kind of connections. So USG traditional UTM, your typical ecosystem here is like, let's say our old generation USGs, they had to look at either a local database signature. And so it's limited by memory. It may get monthly, weekly, or depending on how you set it, might even get daily updates potentially, but it all depends on third-party vendors in order to get these signatures. So even though the party vendors are kind of their best in class, you still have some lag time delay, and only if the virus is found in a honeypot and signatures are made against it, that it can then protect your network. So there is a kind of security hole potential there. People always ask, should I have anti-malware and antivirus on my laptops or on my endpoints? And the question is, and the answer is yes. Even if you have a gateway antivirus, those are protecting kind of the 0-day, the newest, latest threats, but you want to be able to have something that can actually remove the viruses or any old viruses that are out there. So this buys you time, especially for those softwares that may update only maybe a couple times a week that get signatures. So you want to have those, buy the time for those laptops and those endpoints to get those signatures. So these 0-day threats is what's kind of the danger that is existing out there today. There's a lot of even ransomware as a service type sites that are out there where you can actually create your own ransomware and get it into a package that then you can zip and send it off to a potential attack vector, or have it uploaded or injected into some sort of download file, etc. So those can come around all the time, and these are new files that don't have necessarily a signature to it. So you need a way to block it, and the ATP USG flexes with sandboxing and the AI can manage these threats. So the global security ecosystem that's built into our Zywalls now, and that's leveraged by our ATP as well as our USG Flex with the Gold platform, is that it also checks a local database, but then it uses what we call a cloud query. So if it doesn't find it in its local database, it will ask the cloud, do you know what this is? If the file doesn't exist in that hash, it then sends it off to the sandbox. The sandbox is what's important, because then it will emulate, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But it also combines third-party systems and data like your traditional signatures and other kind of zero-day attack threat vectors or signatures that come into the Zyxel cloud, as well as the global network of Zyxel gateways that are also providing this data. So not only are you being protected, but you're protecting others and vice versa. So the whole ecosystem is constantly, growing and learning within the cloud. So that becomes very, effective in doing kind of a wide range of threat protection, and helps to immunize like other gateways that are used within not only your network, but also anybody else's network that might potentially see that file. So it helps to deal with all of that. So those new threats are detected. They're also then communicated into the same cloud query, and then if necessary, they also send files to the sandbox. So with sandboxing, we can conquer what we call unknown security threats. So I always say, make what is unknown known, and that's what the sandboxing does. Not only are we're not just depending on the signatures or the heuristics, but we're also now dealing with actual files and execution of live AI that's then emulating within the sandbox what is that file that might be being sent through your network, or maybe uploaded or downloaded through your network, and be able to do that at a high speed. That's what's important. And also making decisions on whether to keep it or not, the file that you're going to, the suspicious file. So we have settings in there that allows for you to make that decision on your own. Of course, there's pros and cons of both. We use that cloud intelligence that I showed you in that ecosystem, because then we employ machine learning. We evolve it with the AI, so it grows potentially stronger with any attacks on any of the networks that are using this smart cloud intelligence. So in our sandboxing, we basically look at, we upload a unknown threat. Let's say it's a zip file. We throw it into the sandboxing side. The sandbox then contains it, packetizes it, it executes and analyzes it. It tries to see, is it trying to make connections to a server? Is it trying to download other files? Is it executing and trying to install something within the system? And then it looks at it and identifies it and sees if it's a malicious attack. If it's a malicious attack, it also communicates that to the defense intelligence in the cloud, and then creates a signature update that then may go to a local database or a cloud queries side of things. So all of that works in conjunction together in kind of this harmonious ecosystem. So that's where the power of this network is. So the more devices that we have out there, the more eyeballs that potentially are collecting this information, these files, to help to inoculate the rest of the environment as well, and then the entire ecosystem. So all customer networks, whether you be working with a USG Flex or an ATP, now get this benefit. We've partnered with a company called Lastline. They're one of the top rated sandboxing solutions for enterprises today, and we've integrated that into our system. You can see from a TCO on protected megabits per second, it's very cost effective while protecting at a very high speed. So Trend Micro, Lastline, those are the two kind of vendors that we use here together. So the Gold pack is very important, because it does give you a lot of functionality, feature sets, above and beyond what the UTM security pack gives you. UTM Security Pack gives you web filtering, anti-malware, IPS, application control, secure reporter, collaborative response, email security in the standalone, and the security profile sync when you're using Nebula. So all the ones with the green dots, those are available features in Nebula. All of the orange dots are what's available in standalone mode, just for your reference. But you can see with the gold pack, it includes things like sandboxing, reputation filter, as well as Nebula Pro Pack included as well, and also secure Wi-Fi built in as well. So a lot of additional feature functions for what you're paying for, a slight nominal upgrade, but gives you a full featured protection there. And we'll talk about why it's important. And I'm going to jump into kind of each one of those different features: sandboxing, reputation filtering, etc., and why that's important. So sandboxing, really, how does a firewall protect you against these and these kinds of unknown or unidentified threats? Well, with traditional sandboxing, the gateway with some sort of services, they typically don't destroy the unknown file. So the file kind of goes through, it may send the file off to the sandbox, but then it may just kind of digest that for a bit and then pass the traffic on, but then it will still copy to the sandbox for analyzing. So the danger with this in the traditional sandbox setting is that the file may still get through and may still do damage to that that office or to that network, which we don't typically want, right? But that's kind of what sandboxing was, how it was working before. And then once it is determined if it's like good or bad, then it goes into either the local sandbox cache database and then into the cloud intelligence side to block for future, that file again, if it happens to pass through again. With advanced inspection for sandboxing, which is what we have available, you can have two kind of options. You can decide to choose to have the file destroyed on the first time that it's detected. So this kind of gives you that initial protection. Here is a file. It will upload a MD5 hash to the cloud, and if the cloud deems it as, it's going to wait 2 seconds, and if it responds back, I know this file and it is clean, then it will allow for it to go through. But if it doesn't know what it is, the sandbox doesn't know what it is either, then it will here in this case, it's like he's seen the file, so the file is considered malicious, so then the file can then be destroyed immediately before it passes through. And then also update any kind of local cache in case the file is trying to be downloaded multiple times. Now we can also forward the file to the sandbox if it's unknown, and also choose to block it as well. So we send the MD5 again, and the sandbox has not seen that file before, so it will communicate that. You can then choose to pass that through if you still choose to, but we do have a setting now that allows for it to also be destroyed even when it's not seen. So what happens in a download, you may just have to download it again, maybe after potentially, after 2 seconds if it doesn't go through, if it's not decided yet, or it may take up to, let's say, 40 minutes or so. It could be as long as that, depending on the file size and its sophistication of the if it's malicious or not, then it will send kind of that inoculation information before. So I'll send that file to the sandbox to do that execution, and then it will reply after it analyzes it as well. So how you can protect on it, to configure, it's fairly simple. You basically go to the configuration in your ATP or USG Flex now and go to security services, sandboxing, and you can enable sandboxing just by checking. You have to have the license. So that's the gold licenses that's available. So you just decide action for a malicious file. You can destroy it. Log the malicious file. Obviously you want to log that. And action for a suspicious file. That is a file that is maybe a virus or maybe malicious, but the cloud doesn't know what to do about it yet. This is where you can choose to destroy it or send it along its way still. And you can choose what type of files you want to submit to the sandbox: zip files, executables, Microsoft Office documents, macro, flash data, PDFs, RTF, etc. We have a list of what we do support as well. And of course, you want to configure the statistics. So when you go to monitor security statistics, sandboxing side, you'll be able to checkbox to collect statistics, and it can give you information on that. And then you'll notice that within the logs as well. And it will give you kind of an up-to-date kind of running log total, which then you can click through and look at the scan results. here is just a kind of a log. So when you go to that log, you can find out that information. And of course, all of these logs can also be sent to a syslog server of your choice or managed within our Secu reporter or a Secu manager. So these are the protocols that we protect against. And again, if you see something that says just ATP, it now includes the ATP and the USG Flex with gold licensing. So just make sure you keep that in mind. So the protocols that we support are here, the file types that I mentioned here earlier as well. There is some limitation though. Right now, the file size has to be greater than 32 bytes and also less than 10 megabytes. So depending on the file that's there, again, we have to make some sort of decision on what we can upload. In the future, there may be some added file sizes support there, but this is primarily for the sandboxing function. With a lot of the virus scanning tools that are out there, it's the file size are usually a streaming file size, so it doesn't have a file limitation when you have malware or antivirus type scanning. And this is primarily just for the sandboxing. For IP reputation, how can the firewall protect you for IP reputation? A real difference, Rusty asked, is there a real difference, I think, in the ATP versus USG Flex? Right now with USG Flex with gold license, it becomes basically, in essence, the ATP. Hardware performance will be the same or very similar. I think it should be practically the same, so you won't notice any difference there. The USG Flex then just gives you more flexibility that in standalone mode, it can do more of the hospitality functionality in the standalone. But otherwise, all of the secure Wi-Fi, all of the Nebula support for security, the sandboxing, IP reputation, those then become basically equal. So whether you choose to standardize on ATP that comes with the gold licenses pre-packaged or not, or you can choose to standardize on USG Flex, where you can choose no licensing, just UTM licensing, or with gold licensing, that gives you now flexibility to do all three kind of tiers of firewalls for your customers. Of course, Martin will tell you, you need to go to that top tier, because I mean, I'm a proponent of that as well. You need to go have gold. You need to convince your customers of gold licensing because of that protection, 0-day protection that you're going to get with this solution. There's pros and cons, of course, and so I will talk some more about that as well. But it definitely is something that is beneficial, and some partners like Martin have really standardized on that and really been pushing that kind of service to their customers. So reputation. So if in standalone ATP or USG Flex, it's in the same boat. They would be similar in that regard as well in standalone mode. USG Flex, again, if you're doing the hospitality functionality, then USG Flex has that, whereas the ATP series does not. So that's kind of the reverse difference. So USG Flex in a way is probably, I would say, has more of those standalone features there, but when you use gold licensing, they pretty much, except for the hospitality side, they become equal. Are HTML, HTML attached files scanned? I do not believe so, not for sandboxing. HTML typically will then be maybe more for the content filtering side of things, but not as I would say let me see real quick if it shows. So yeah, so the protocols it supports. So sorry, I'm mistaken. So HTTP, I have to double check to see if it's the files. I don't think it's the files. It's also the URL. So I need to see what happens if somebody attaches an HTTP that goes potentially to a malicious website. That's probably covered on our email and our phishing aspect of the gold package, which is not necessarily on the sandboxing side. So those can also be scanned with our web filtering license there. So whether you're choosing the web filtering license on its own, or you're getting the gold package, which is the full bundle, it's like fully loaded, everything is opened up, then that's your best bet. It also includes IP reputation, and IP reputation kind of comes in two parts. It's an IP address as well as a URL categorization filtering of the traffic. And you're kind of using a combination of both. These two things make up that reputation filter service that's part of this gold package. So why do we need IP reputation? To block, the the to and from known IP addresses that are going to any particular website or IP. You're able to do this and be able to filter it very quickly. So we always ask, or we always want customers to use IP reputation because it really reduces the need for, or it offloads, malware scanning and IDP, because it does come before those packets. And I'll show you the packet flow that our firewall works in right now later on. And it will basically, if it's blocked by IP or malicious URL in the beginning, then it doesn't have to worry about doing either deeper scanning on that potential package that's in that that addressing. So it's able to scan that, be able to decide whether or not it's good. So we use a database of known malicious public IPs that are constantly updated and dynamic. That's again provided by some of our security partners that are out there. So it enables the gateway to take action, to and from any kind of IP addresses that are out there. So the cyber threats that typically come that as part of this malicious public IP address database, they're classified into 10 different threat types and 3 levels. So it goes low, medium, high. So and the high ones are typically the botnet and phishing. So those are those threat levels that are there. And so you can decide and choose what kind of threats to identify and what to block. So the gateway checks the source IP, the destination IP of all the traffic that passes through it, and determines the threat type, and then depending on how you've configured it, decides on what to block, either inbound or outbound. So whether it's going from a LAN to WAN or DMZ, you get to choose how that goes, even from LAN to DMZ or LAN to LAN kind of access, if it's going through the firewall. There is a challenge, though, with this cloud type of service. So there's a lot of things that have moved into the cloud hosting of services, applications that are in the cloud. They share public IP addresses to many different people. So sometimes a particular public address on a certain port might be a malicious site, but with using IP reputation, typically those are being blocked. So what we do ask, or what we tell customers and partners to do, is on the outbound, in order to kind of alleviate that, for outbound traffic, when gateways are scanning the destination addresses, only inspect for botnet and phishing to block. And those are the most critical ones for the outbound. Inbound, you can decide to still do the threat assessment on a higher level, but on the outbound, to prevent, connectivity issues, et cetera, connecting to Amazon, et cetera. Certain Amazon addresses might have a certain malicious server if they don't have that removed. But of course, if they get removed, then those IPs also can get removed as well, and get removed from the list through this kind of service. So any of those kind of reports are like false negatives or false positives, you can also message it out to us so that we can help to alleviate that. So it's not I would say not a perfect solution, but it gives you still that threat assessment, especially on the inbound. Most of the traffic is coming on the inbound. So we want to block that botnet and phishing traffic that's going out. So to configure that, so go to the configuration security services, go to reputation filter and IP reputation, and then you can choose how to enable. Then you can select how you want to deal with the actions when you find out threats that are low and above. You're going to block them all, or you're going to choose a kind of a higher threshold, so only critical ones that are getting blocked, or the high ones, or medium and high. Then you can have those blocked there. So then you can choose IPs to test against as well. So you can do some test IPs. There's some test IPs that are out there, and it can tell you what kind of threat assessment is there. Are you addressing in any way email phishing and spam for Exchange Online? Right now in the standalone mode, it can only scan things that are going through the device itself. So when you have email security turned on, that's only available not in our cloud platform, but in our standalone mode. So some of those features that were on that list earlier, in email security or email scanning, is on the standalone side. So it's if you're more like you're hosting itself. Exchange or anything that's on the kind of the cloud. If they're not using Outlook, as long as they're using Outlook and they're passing through an Outlook client using, POP or SNMP or SMTP, et cetera, then those can be scanned because those are passing through the gateway. And so you can use that anti-phishing, anti-spam services within that gateway itself. Now, we are also looking, of course, enhancing that as well in our cloud platform. But right now, the email scanning portion is available in our standalone mode, but not in the cloud yet. Just a note as well, IP reputation only supports IPv4 addresses right now, but that is going to be evolving to IPv6 in the future. So what is a botnet filter? So this is another aspect, another filtering capability. It's part of that gold package that comes with the ATP and now the USG Flex with the gold licenses. And so botnet, they're simply just groups of infected computers that are controlled by some sort of attacker or a hacker to perform different things. So I call it kind of like a zombie machine. They can be used for denial of service attacks. They can be used to spam servers or send spam mails. They can use to steal data or attack. They can install Trojans, malware, ransomware as well. Daniel did make a comment on the USG reputation was set by policy. So you could have some networks with this functionality enabled and others not. Is that an option on the ATP? Yes. So yes, you should be able to do that as well. So if you don't find that, if I'm wrong with that, reach out to us, but that's my understanding, is that it's policy based. So the USG technically would have that, but whatever's in the cloud system now, but you should be able to have some networks that have that reputation scanning enabled and then others that are not. I think even with our Nebula platform, we've enhanced that recently as well, but we can check that for sure. So just you could send me and reach out to your sales rep to ask that question, and we can bring in our SE to double check that as well. So how does that work? Well, there's a number of ways that botnets spread. So the most common way is people have IoT devices that can be loss of control, especially in homes today. A lot of people have their default settings are all there. So the security, passphrases or to connect to some of these smart TVs, they're all just universally the same. And so if you're able to attack that, you can infect those and be able to use that to potentially load other files or attack. So let's say they download an application like Adobe Reader, and they create their own application with the malware in it. So it looks like an Adobe Reader, and then they uploaded the application to some unofficial site, right? You always get some warning that, hey, this is coming from some unofficial site. So you're taking a risk that there might be malware or something bad that could be in there. But people don't realize that, especially this day and age, people just kind of, go download something, install it, and that can cause some issues. So it installs and downloads that. Now your computer's taken over. You may not even know that your computer is taken over by some sort of botnet malware. And again, if it's something that is like a 0 day where your laptop signature doesn't even know of that file or knows what it is, then it wouldn't even know that it's been infected. So it has no idea that it's there. So it's very important to kind of block it in the beginning stages. So while they are downloading it, if your sandboxing is turned on, that unofficial file will then get sent to the sandbox, and you can decide to destroy that from the beginning. So that's one thing to also educate to your customers that have sandboxing turned on, is to make sure that you educate them and tell them, while you're downloading, you may experience these kinds of scenarios where if you're downloading a file, it seems like it's taking too long or it fails on you. That could mean that that file is potentially or suspicious, and it's giving some time for the sandbox to actually do some analysis. So it may take, again, depending on the size of the file, it could take minutes, or it could take, a few seconds to do the analyzation, to analyze it. So you're able to then put that there to download the file later. So just let them know that might be the kind of the experience that they're having, or they may experience that they have to wait kind of a 2-second delay before things happen or seem to happen on their end, while it checks to the sandbox or to the cloud query to see if this file exists or not, and then make that decision on whether to pass the file through or to destroy and delete that file. So once the botnet takes over, it communicates typically back to some sort of command and control server. And that's what the attacker uses to kind of launch their different attacks. So then commands are sent out to do, let's say, a denial of service attack to web servers, hosting companies, banks, or public networks that are out there to try to bring them down. So with an army of thousands or tens of thousands of machines, potentially, you can then, flood someone's network in that kind of attack. So how does the ATP and USG Flex with Gold packages or licenses protect you? So we can actually prevent these kinds of connections to the CNC servers and botnet sites that are known based on a signature database or IPs as well. So gateway filtering the source destination addresses or URLs within that network traffic to take that kind of precaution and to be able to block those sites and to block those servers that are out there. Now, of course, it's an ongoing battle because servers will change IPs all the time. So we constantly are depending on some of these partners to provide us with a lot of these good, known good or known bad list of information or IPs. So then it can block the traffic from going to these commands to also be going to your devices. Let's say if any of your LAN devices, computers are already botnetted or already taken over, at least the communication to do damage is then severed. So how to configure that to turn on? Again, it's pretty easy. Go to configuration, security service, botnet filter, and there you can enable it to detect botnet IPs. You can enable the URL blocking as well for botnet and to be able to block or reject those kinds of packets that pass through. And of course, you want to log all this information as well. Again, sending it to a syslog server or to some sort of service, even a third party that allows for you to get more visuals on and digesting all of that information or to sending you alarms and alerts. We also have that within our Secu reporter as well for this kind of information. But if you want to kind of standardize it, if you have other devices that are out there in the network that's not Zyxel and you're using a third party, then you can still send that information and make some, overall networking security solution decisions when you see these threats that come by. So one thing to note, though, do not disable HTTPS domain filtering on the content filtering profile, because that's what we use to scan or to block botnet filters that are going through HTTPS traffic. So HTTPS URL blocking there. So by default, that domain filter is enabled. So just don't turn it off. We do put a little information note kind of as a warning there, just in case you don't know what that is. And then for botnets, you just have to go to, for monitoring it, go to monitor security statistics, botnet filter, and just collect statistics there. And you'll start getting logs, information on what's happening within your network. And then you can view the logs individually as well. And again, my suggestion is to use Secu Reporter or whatever kind of syslog server that you're using to digest all that information. So the packet flow for our security gateway, this is how we scan within our kind of our stack. As packets come in, it hits the gateway. It first goes through a firewall rule, and then it scans it by IP reputation. So that's where that first scanning happens. So if it already knows that traffic's coming from a bad location, a bad vector or bad IP address or URL, it's going to block it right there. So then it doesn't have to spend the resources and time to do all the other things. So then it will go to the IDP engine, which then looks at, any kind of intrusion malware and then anti-malware there. And then if it passes those, then it moves on to our Sandbox scanning. And then again, it checks in the scan, it checks in the cloud. If not, then it sends it up to the Sandbox. If it passes all that, it still goes through an app patrol, botnet filter, then a web content filter, and then finally email security before it goes out to where it's supposed to go. So it does a lot of things. And so security is very complex. It's not just a basic, port pass through or SPI type firewall. It's doing all these scanning structures when you have it enabled. So of course, you have to look at the data sheets, see what is our SPI firewall throughput and also our UTM, IDP anti-malware throughput number to gauge which product fits best for your customer and for their internet connection. So you also may have to explain that, especially nowadays and age, our WAN connections are getting much faster. much accelerated speed today that it's hard to keep up when you want to maintain security. So there's going to be a choice. Either we will, you know, for the price point that you want to fit, for the budget that your customer wants to go with, they can achieve full security at this price. If they want to go higher, then of course there's going to be a higher price for a higher throughput device to fulfill that. Or they may have to then choose, well, you know, do we go with, you know, a higher level of reputation threat management so that our performance on the IP side is better, or maybe not need to get a 2.5 gig uplink, or maybe to segregate the network where you have 2.5 gig is the overall throughput of the network, but maybe segregated into still kind of like gigabit chunks, right? So the server can do 2.5 gig if there's no firewall, or it's just more of its own local firewall or a cloud firewall that's protecting it because it's connecting via to the cloud, let's say, and then all of the downloads are going through either segmented, so each particular, you know, segment within the network is using, you know, a gig each or something like that. So then it can help to still give you overall throughput speeds of what you've purchased. Rusty asks, what does the end user see if something is blocked? Like in the, I know for the content filtering side, it gives you that information. For the IDP, for the anti-malware, like if you're downloading a file, I think the file, I don't think the user sees anything. I think the file downloads just fail. So even within the sandboxing, when the file gets destroyed, while they're downloading, they'll just get an error basically. So that's why it's part of that communication, because there's no way for us to, as they're downloading a file via FTP or something like that, there's no way to inject like a message that says, hey, you know, this is what's happened. We can only do it on the content filtering side, where we redirect them when they go to a, you know, a blocked URL, that we take them to a local web page that says, here, these are the reasons why we've blocked you. So it's part of that education to your partner, or to your customers, that when you enable these kinds of security services, this is the kind of behavior effect that may happen or show up. And so users will have to understand that's part of the behavior of that protection. It's basically, you know, intercepting a bad file before you get to fully download it. So it'll show up as an error. Under configuration security service, I'm not seeing botnet. Is it someplace else? So you might have to make sure you check your firmware if you're using the USG Flex, or if you're using the ATP. But I think you're using potentially the USG Flex. It has to be on, I think it's 4.35 or higher to have this access to that botnet blocking. I don't think you need to have the gold license to see the setting, but I could be wrong. I think we have it there because it should be there so you could see it, or as a premium type of service. If not, if you have not enabled the gold package, we do have the 30-day trial as well. So you're on the ATP 200 latest firmware in gold. Reach out to our tech support to see where it is, because it should be there, unless my slide is maybe out. I don't know if my slide's out of date. Maybe there's a new screenshot where they've put that botnet, but definitely reach out to our support team on that to find out exactly where that is under ATP. But that should be there. Botnet was always, for our ATPs, has always been there. So I did mention the models there: USG Flex, the ATP series. On the simplicity side, just a basic USG 20 VPN, now renamed as the USG Flex 50. So some of the feature sets that you would see, again, the differences between that, the USG Flex, the main things here: dual scan, hybrid mode, cloud stream, all of these are now available within the USG Flex if you use gold. So if you load in the gold package, you'll get all of these features. So you get the full, what the ultimate gives you here. And the other thing that I didn't mention and I didn't cover that we do include as well is within the secure Wi-Fi side of things. It's also available in the USG Flex bundle as well. But in the gold package, it kind of opens up all of the licenses for all of the APs that are supported there. So we do like the fact that you are using the USG Flex, because then it gives you the most flexibility on choosing which path to take for your customer. So part of the promo that we're going to talk about, I'll just explain it in detail in a few slides here, but we use, McAfee WebRoot, and then with Gold package, then you're now loaded with, last line and trend micro, et cetera, for the DNS filtering, the IP reputation, sandboxing, and botnet filtering. So that gives you kind of this same thing, sandboxing, URL threat management, enhanced UTM scanning that the ATP gives you. So that's why we are here. So I'm happy to announce this for the first time officially that we're offering one of our most secure upgrade offers yet. And again, Martin, this was thanks to you that we kind of came up with this idea because of what you were asking for gold packaging, et cetera. Rusty did say, asked if the session is recorded, and yes, and it'll be on our YouTube and our Facebook as well, and it should be on our website when you click onto our past webinars. Hey, Paul. Let's see. Paul asked, what are the cost trade-offs between the Flex and Gold versus ATP with Gold? So the pricing on the Gold licensing is going to be the same between when you choose the ATP as a like a 2-year license versus the USG Flex. So the two Gold pricing should be the same. So there's not really a cost trade-off. There is a price difference when you do go from like a UTM to the Gold. So going from a base UTM, there's an upcharge obviously for the sandboxing, but with our offer that we're giving is buy any 2-year Gold security pack for the USG Flex model of your choice, then you get that model for free. So in this case, if you get a 2-year Gold security pack for the USG Flex 100, then for that price, we're giving you the USG Flex 100. So it has to be like for like. Obviously, we're not going to have you buy a 2-year license of the 100 and then give you a USG Flex 700. All right. So the SKUs that that SKU, that Gold packet gives you that enhanced threat protection, sandboxing, reputation filter, web filtering, anti-malware, IPS, application patrol, Secu reporter, collaborative detection and response, email security when you're using it on-prem, Nebula Pro pack for the 2 years as well, secure Wi-Fi, and more. So that's what we're giving as an offering. It starts April 1st through June 30th. So all of Q2, you have to be a Zyxel partner to get this access to that. So if you are not a partner, please sign up. We're going to be emailing this flyer basically out to partners as well in the coming day, I believe so. Just so you're ready. These SKUs are already available to and getting stocked at distribution side. But just know that the SKUs that you're going to be ordering is not the 2-year license by itself. We've created a bundle like we did with our USG Flex promo, but it's going to be now called the USG Flex, the model number, in this case, USG Flex 100 Rev 2 plus 2YG, so 2-year Gold. So any part codes that you see in distribution should have that plus 2Y Gold, or it should say 2-year Gold security license plus USG Flex free or something like that. So that's where the promo, we're bundling them together. So you should have basically a hardware only device and a 2-year license key in that package that you can load into the device and get your 2 years worth of security functions. Yeah, Martin says, I appreciate this a lot. Exactly, Martin. Again, it was, inspired by partners like yourself to giving this as we were doing our previous promo. So we still have our promo running until end of March. So just a few more days left, where it's the buy 2 years of the USG Flex UTM services and get the USG Flex for free. So that bundle is still going on if you don't want the Gold tier package, the Gold security license package. So take advantage of it now before it goes away. But just know that if your partners and customers, if you can convince them and educate them on why the benefits of the Gold package, hopefully some of the information that I gave you today will help you with that education portion and to help you provide a higher level of security. So what we do is you contact our sales reps that I had mentioned earlier, Andy, Jacob, David. When you become a partner and you want to buy these SKUs, you let us know. We load the special pricing where it will bring that package bundle that's sitting at distribution down to the appropriate price for your, bronze, silver, gold pricing. So let us know so that we can load that. That's how we kind of control kind of the market there. So, things are not just bought on Amazon or found somewhere by a non-partner. So this is how we're going to control the, this promo. And you can offer that to your customers. Of course, you can decide as a MSP, you may just take advantage of this and say, hey, my 2-year cost now for a new MSP customer has now gone down to just a 2-year price. And so for that, you can now already roll in a quicker break even point for your new customer, or if you're upgrading your existing customers as well as an MSP. This is something that might be where even you just take the upfront charge, or maybe some initial upgrade fee that you charge for the end user, a nominal fee that covers kind of the whole thing, that then puts them on a new hardware. So however you need to pitch it to your customers, buy 2-year license, get the hardware free, or you can say, hey, subscribe to me for 2 more years. I will give you the hardware free, a newer hardware, and upgrade either your, it could be an existing Zyxel, or it could be a competitive trade-in as well. So it could be just a competitive model that you're saying, hey, get rid of that one. We're going to load you with the new higher security product. So however you as partners want to deal with that, that's up to you. We did take your feedback as well. We will kind of announce that this promo is available within our website, and point them to, talking to an approved Zyxel VAR reseller and MSP, to providing the end customer with this kind of service. So we won't sell that, we won't put the street price out there. So again, so that you can decide as partners how you want to sell it to the customer. Maybe you have a customer where they really don't care, don't know, whatever you want to do, you don't really need to convince them of anything. You can take this 2-year promo and just still sell it to them at, a full year, full price for 1 year, even though you get 2 years licenses. Who knows? However you want to, do that within your business model. We've given you kind of that baseline, and it's up to you to kind of help. So contact Andy, Jacob, David to load those discounts in our distribution partners. So we work with D&H, Ingram Micro, TD SYNNEX, Wave, Target, Pace. So we'll load those SPA discounts on the back end there for you, like we've been doing with our current USG promos, if you're already using them today. That will help you, and this should help you maintain or get to gold status if you're not already a gold partner. If you're a gold partner, thank you very much for being a gold partner and being just a loyal Zyxel, ally here with us. We love all of our partners, but getting to gold, we set the bar fairly low. It's just a few firewalls, I would say, in 6 months. I think if you sold about 2 firewalls a month for 6 months, you'd hit 12K. So I'm sure you guys are doing much more business in the networking space to survive out there today. That's probably a very low entry point. Of course, this number includes all products. So whether switches, gateways, access points, you can use all that towards this. But make sure though, don't buy it on Amazon side, because if you do, those numbers don't count towards. So you have to kind of go through distribution to get this number to be kind of collected together. So just keep that in mind. I know some of us, it's easier to sometimes just buy it on Amazon, but just know that that's the case. Don't make that your normal. Just make it kind of your exception there. And we will try to get, of course, product in stock always. So we're working with our supply chains. We have a lot of switches. We have a lot of firewalls, except for the 200s. During our promotion, the 200s got really popular. So the 200s are a little bit, might have some delay here just for about kind of middle to end of April is when we kind of fulfill all of that again. We'll catch up there. We do have the unbundled, which is fine for this promo. So we have a lot of those that can go to this promo. But stock is, with this promo running, those hardware only SKUs now are going to be in high demand. So just get your orders in soon, early, or work with us, talk to our sales reps here to work that all out. And distribution is also going to try to pull in stock to their local warehouses as well, so that you can order those and get them shipped directly from them. But worst case in all, if you can't get them at distribution or don't get the quantities that you can get there, then they can always do a customer drop ship from our warehouses as well if we have stock. So keep that in mind. we love you guys as partners. Connect with us on LinkedIn, Zyxel-US-channel, on YouTube, Zyxel America. This webinar will be posted there as well after in a few hours. Also, you can connect with me on LinkedIn at Zyxel Try, and also keep an eye out. We're creating a splash page now for all of our Top Golf events. I know some of you I've seen at a Top Golf event already. We've hosted a couple now, but we may be coming to a city near you that might be worth the drive to come out to talk to us and one of our voice partners, VoIP vendors that we've collaborated with for all of these Top Golf events. So it's an opportunity for me or someone from Zyxel to get to meet with you. And in some cases, it was meeting, some partners for the first time, even after years of doing business together. So hopefully you'll see that announcement come out, and then you'll see what cities that we're going to so that you can start signing up already. Our next stop for the Top Golf, like I mentioned in the beginning of our webinar, is we're going to Chicago out of the Schaumburg Top Golf area. So if you're interested in that, you could either send me an email. My email is try@zyxel.com, or if you have any questions, or you can reach out to your sales rep. So we're going to be in a lot of different cities, one Top Golf event probably every month now, all the way up to November. So there's a good chance that I'm going to be in your area. So it would be a great opportunity for us to meet, swing some golf balls and talk about Zyxel and some other solutions that we have presented there. So at this time, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A. We have a few minutes if you have anything you want to ask. Again, if you don't have anything right now, but you can think of something later, or maybe when you watch the replay of the webinar, feel free to email me at try@zyxel.com. If not, if you don't have any questions, you want to drop off, thank you again. Thank you for your afternoon, your morning, however you may be watching. Thank you for joining us for Tech Talk. We'd love to get in touch with you sometime soon, so reach out to us. Theodore asked, what are some real world pain points you've experienced with Sandbox? I think in the past, what would happen with Sandbox, that's a very good question. Typically it's the delay, or maybe they're downloading files that are just always unknown. So they're downloading these maybe Excel files, and each one of the Excel files potentially can have to be scanned. So you can make some decisions there on what threats you can allow through. So if typically customers are doing a lot of Excel files, every minute they're downloading something new, then you might want to turn that off or make some exception to that profile or to that user to allow for those files to come through without destroying them. Otherwise, it's a I downloaded a file, it errors. I should wait a few seconds. I should download it again. If it still errors, then you might have to wait anywhere up to a couple minutes to like 30 minutes, again, depending on the execution of that file, maybe how sophisticated that malware potentially is, before it gets a kind of a notification back on if the file is malicious or not. Then you can download the file through, right? So that's kind of maybe the main pain point, is that there is that delay within the sandbox on getting something coming through. So that's kind of the nature of it, depending again how difficult how strict you are on your threat assessment, that you want to be that painful, I guess, on scanning those things. So you kind of have to adjust to make sure that it kind of meets that customer. Does Sandboxing ingest mailbox attachments in Outlook? No, that's more so for our email security platform side of it. So that will do that kind of scanning on like a phishing file, email malware, that kind of scans through that if it's being downloaded through the device. But Sandboxing will not, the Sandboxing portion will not ingest the attachment, unless the attachment, I guess, it has to go through that scan first on the it goes through that malware scan, and then it goes to the email scan. At least that's my understanding. Let's see, Theodore says last two. What are the third-party definition providers again? Does Zyxel have security baseline recommendations or up to your security policies? So we have, let me see if I can find that slide real quick. So these are the main ones: McAfee, WebRoot, Last Line, Trend Micro, Bitdefender. So these provide all different aspects, whether it be IP reputation, content filtering, intrusion detection, sandboxing, DNS filtering, botnet filtering, et cetera. These are kind of split between a lot of these vendors here. And we do have some sort of baseline recommendations. We do have some best practices that we typically tell customers. I know our system engineer and also our form, in our security form or in our Zyxel form, there is a kind of recommendations on how to implement like the security policies and what to configure, what to turn on, et cetera, or how to turn it on. Some customers who are new at it, they end up going, well, I'm going to do all the scanning and I'm going to scan inbound and outbound for every segment of my network. So whether it goes from LAN to LAN, this LAN to WAN, WAN to LAN, LAN to LAN the other way, DMZ to LAN, LAN to DMZ, right? So both, you have to kind of make that decision on what kind of threat is, which direction threats typically are moving, to then do that kind of scan on that, segment. So you have to kind of fine tune that. Otherwise, that packet is then going to be, or those types of traffic is going to be scanned both directions. You're going to utilize CPU. So it's going to cause some bog down in that. So, but again, reach out to us. We're glad to get you in with our systems engineer. He has some documents on best practices as well for security and security policies. Well, I hope then everything today, something was interesting to you and helpful, and kind of helping you to decide on our our sandboxing type solution. So again, that promo is there, so please take advantage of it. Buy that 2-year gold security license pack, get the hardware for free, and that's something again you can offer to your customers and offer or to use for yourself, however it may be. Paul says, good job. I don't play golf, but you can still come. Yes, exactly. I'd never played Top Golf before, and you'd be surprised how many people who do not play golf and come there and have a lot of fun just swinging a club, because that's kind of the first time they've swung it. So that's a really good place to get started, and there's a lot of fun games that are built into that Top Golf interface that makes it pretty entertaining for anybody of all skill levels, all ages. So definitely come by. So I'll be in Chicago next month. You should be able to see an invite email if you're in that area. Now, if you're outside of that region and you're kind of close to it and you want to fly in, that's up to you as well. But we want to give you a whole list of where we're going to be, so you don't fly in, when you're like, hey, you're coming to my city next month. So, keep in touch with that. But we would love to see you, meet you at another event there. But take advantage of this promo coming out April 1st. So you'll start seeing that roll through. So you get to be the first to hear of that. And hopefully you get to be the first people to take advantage of it. And look forward to talking to you again soon. This is Tech Talk. My name is Tri Win again. Get connected with us. And thank you for talking with me this afternoon. Have a great rest of your day.